Story 1. Performing for each other instead of being real. People feel pressure to be endlessly witty, effortlessly cool, or emotionally detached, as if dating is a game of who can care less first. It is exhausting and dehumanizing. Story 2. Comparisons. Stop comparing your relationship, your actions, and your involvement to what you see others doing on the internet. Story 3. The expectation to respond to messages immediately, as if you owe your partner your full time and attention, is not present in every relationship but exists in some. Story 4. I might receive criticism for this, but demanding your partner's location or making it mandatory to share locations feels, to me, rooted in ownership, insecurity, and mistrust. I understand if it is for safety purposes. Story 5. No label situationships. No one is asking you to get married on the second date, but at least figure out what the relationship is. Story 6. Using someone else as a comfort while trying to figure out their situation with their ex just happened to me. Completely messed up. Not okay. Story 7. People act like ignoring someone is normal, but it is just emotional cowardice. Also, constantly testing your partner is not cute. It is manipulation. Story 8. Talking about former partners excessively, being emotionally attached to former partners, and moving from person to person instead of committing. Story 9. Posting your partner's argument publicly. You are embarrassing your partner on social media by sharing it the next morning as if nothing happened. Story 10. This reminds me of a man in Bristol who set up his piano in public and vowed not to stop playing until he won back his ex-girlfriend. At first, people thought it was romantic, but it is actually toxic and unhealthy. When someone ends a relationship, it is important to respect their decision. Creating a public spectacle to pressure or shame them into getting back together is inappropriate. Displays of love like that can be unsettling. Story 11. The chase. If you have to chase someone, you are not mutually attracted to each other. You are being predatory. Story 12. Not going to bed angry. Most problems in a healthy relationship stem from overstimulation caused by stress. Staying up trying to figure things out may cause more mental torment, whereas sleeping while holding each other and saying, "I love you," can help you wake up feeling refreshed and ready to communicate. Story 13. Well, it is seen as a red flag if you do not participate on social media. I have read it, but applications like Instagram and Snapchat felt pointless. This takes me out of the running for a fair number of people. Story 14. Sending nudes or risque pictures to strangers. Would you walk up to a stranger on the street and strip down? No. Then why do it to a total stranger online? Story 15. Maybe not normal, but bringing or suggesting to bring another person into the relationship is challenging. It is even worse if you have children. I have known 2 couples who have done this. Both couples are divorced now. Story 16. Seeing many people at the same time without taking the time to get to know one person before moving on. Trying to meet as many as possible, as if this is the best way to find the right person. Story 17. Social media, sending pictures, over-communicating. I made a mistake once by oversharing through text, and I regret it deeply. I was vulnerable and believed we were on the same page. It was a valuable reminder that a slow-building relationship is the best strategy for building trust and achieving long-term success, whether in friendship, romance, or other connections. I will no longer build relationships through technology. Story 18. Expecting sexual intimacy on the first date and dismissing anyone who is not willing to engage immediately pressures people into feeling obligated to do so even if they do not want to. Story 19. Ghosting, especially if you have gone out on a few dates already, shows a huge level of disrespect and leaves the other person confused as to why you do not want to see them again. Most people take the hint after one date if the messages stop, but if you have seen someone several times, it is important to communicate clearly. While I understand mental health can impact actions, I do not go out of my way to go on multiple dates with someone and then ghost them. You simply say, "Hey, I do not think this is going to work out. It is nothing against you. I just need some time alone." Story 20. Treat dating as a mutual experience, recognizing that dates are equals who are also taking time out of their busy lives to get to know you. Story 21. For some odd reason, It has become normal and somewhat expected to share your location all the time. It is almost never for safety. Story 22. Old and married longer than not. I feel for you all. It was so much easier back in the day. Hang in there. Story 23. Expecting someone to end their friendships with the opposite sex is unreasonable. Some people believe that men and women cannot be just friends, but in my opinion, they can, especially when there are healthy boundaries and everyone is mature and respectful. For example, should I immediately end a friendship of many years just because someone feels insecure? Story 24. Looking through a partner's phone is not just about jealousy and mistrust. It also violates the privacy of your partner's loved ones. When I send you a message, I am sending it to you, not your partner. I do not want my friends' partners looking through our text messages. Story 25. The expectation for constant communication through text or social media makes it easy for manipulators to disguise their tactics. Story 26. Putting up with your partner calling you insults during disagreements or arguments, such as stupid, idiot, or bitch, or calling your partner casual and dismissive names during fights, for example, bro. Story 27. Using these unhelpful apps is like a looks-driven market supported by how witty or concise your bio is. 90% of the men chase 10% of the women who, in turn, are chasing 5% of the men. How that works, I still do not know. Notice how 99% of people had no trouble meeting and partnering up long before these apps existed. You see plenty of men who are 5 feet 3 inches tall and have lost half their teeth, but they have been married for 30 years and have 4 children. That same man would have no chance on an app. Story 28. Being private and keeping things discreet is important. However, this can sometimes be unhealthy, and often these couples do not last. Story 29. The pressure to get married. I can think of many great reasons a couple may wait 10 years to get married, but very few good reasons to have a 2-year dating to married turnaround. Story 30. Expecting excessive spending on first dates. If it is not a fine dining restaurant, I do not even bother going. Story 31. Hookup culture. Don't get me wrong, I'm not encouraging purity culture, as that is just as problematic. I have no qualms with people hooking up, but I really hate the emotional fallout afterward. Sure, it feels great in the moment, but then you are never quite sure where you stand in the cold light of day. Even now, I never know where I stand with someone after we have sex, as questioning things somehow makes it weird or me seem needy. I began dating during peak hookup culture in the 2000s and the emergence of dating applications, which has definitely left me with some trust issues. To be honest, I think everyone has been affected by hookup culture, and I just wish people treated each other as humans rather than emotionless bodies to fill a gap. Maybe this is just me, though. Story 32. Thinking you are in a relationship because you have been texting someone and never met is not real. This is called being pen pals. Story 33. Not being allowed to have opposite-sex friends. In a healthy, normal adult life, you can have friends of all identities, and it should not be a problem. Getting mad at your partner for having friends is just strange. Story 34. Using dating applications, you are being misled into thinking you can find the perfect person among unlimited options. Go meet someone in real life. Story 35. The speed at which you are supposed to be a thing is not important. Just because you went to the movies and then kayaking with someone does not make you a couple. Story 36. Being available for each other all the time. People used to have to write letters to communicate, and now it is expected to constantly text someone back. Story 37. Not allowing your partner to have friends of the opposite sex or trying to control how your partner dresses. Especially saying, "You dressing like that is disrespectful to me." Story 38. I know we were dating, but we never officially said we were exclusive, so you cannot get mad that I slept with someone else. Story 39. The idea that you have to answer your cell phone immediately or the other person will be upset is not right. You are using your cell phone as a weapon. Remember home phones? You called once, and if no one answered, that was it. Also, using breaking up as a way to motivate or improve behavior is easy to do through texting. Furthermore, the idea of breaking up through a text is problematic. Story 40. That she is always right. It is very normal for people to believe that the woman is right. With some experience, I can also add that it has mostly been true for me. However, I have seen many people normalize this to the point where if he makes a good point, she is still considered the one who is right. Story 41. Constantly having to be available and focused due to mobile phones and social media. The idea of peaceful and comfortable silence and space is a relationship saver, but now it is viewed as a problem. If this does not change, we are about to start evolving in a strange way. Story 42. Dating for the game of it and not to find a husband or wife. I would be very upset if someone wasted my time like that. Story 43. Situationships used to be called fear of commitment, and it was considered a bad thing, not standard practice. Story 44. I know I am going to be heavily downvoted for this, but casual sex. When you share that level of intimacy, you are giving away a piece of your soul. I am not saying you have to wait until you are married to share intimacy. However, hooking up or having sex with a person that you barely know or do not have deep feelings for is incredibly destructive to your soul. Do not tell me that you have not woken up feeling that hollow, unpleasant feeling the morning after. Because if you have done it, you know it. Story 45. My friend was being very forward with me, and then immediately kissed me on the mouth. I have breath mints. Please ask next time. Story 46. Expecting constant communication, people even 30 years ago did not have a way of knowing where a person was at all times. Not saying it was always better, but the expectation to text, call, or message nonstop is obsessive in my eyes and definitely not healthy. Story 47. Being nonchalant screams uninterested and emotionally unavailable, which does not seem like a fantastic relationship dynamic. Story 48. It seems to me that society as a whole is moving to using applications as the only way to start dating. Do not date colleagues, do not date friends, do not approach anyone organically because they are there to work, shop, relax, or work out. Just use Tinder or Bumble and let an algorithm designed to maximize profits decide who and how to date. We are now judging everybody on a never-changing pattern of designed applications. Some pictures, a fun and original biography, a quirky fact, my love language, and an opening move. I am not talking about pickup artists and how to get someone's number nonsense. I am talking about actual encounters, maybe seeing someone frequently, and asking them out because you feel a connection. It seems like this is being frowned upon more and more. We do not see other people as being dateable unless we stumble upon them swiping mindlessly. I think this leads to loneliness because it also makes people stop committing. Something minor might suddenly be an unpleasant trait, and you ghost them for the next person walking by before even talking about it with them. Story 49. Ghosting. I just cannot believe such an unfathomably cruel, rude, and nasty thing to do is accepted as something people do nowadays and something you should expect when on the dating scene. Story 50. Sharing locations. Going through each other's phones. I have no problem letting my partner use my phone, but going through it is not okay. Story 51. All the one-size-fits-all theories. Myers-Briggs type indicator, feminine, masculine, and divine energies, love languages, twin spirits, soulmates, attachment styles. Some of it is total nonsense, most of it is made up by unqualified people, and some of it is somewhat useful but not as an absolute, unchanging rule of who you are. Story 52. Ghosting has become so common that people accept it as part of dating now, but it is honestly pretty disrespectful. It leaves the other person hanging, wondering what went wrong, and can affect their confidence. A simple message to say you are not interested anymore would be much more considerate. It is surprising how basic communication has been discarded in favor of just disappearing. Story 53. The aspects of efficiency and disposability surrounding the whole topic and how the resulting strife is further fueled by a layer of artificial urgency. This issue is the reservoir that supplies many sources of society's problems. Story 54. It has been said already, but ghosting. I am married and have been out of the dating scene for years. That was, by far, the most hurtful aspect of dating both online and in person. To go from texting every day or having a few brilliant dates, or so I thought, to just being ignored harmed me mentally so much. I cannot understand why a simple, "this is not working" conversation or even a text could not be done. I found it cowardly and plain rude. I am honestly so glad to be out of that scene. Whatever the ups and downs of married life, it never comes close to that awful feeling of rejection. Story 55. I don't date men under 6 feet tall. How dare you ask how much I weigh? Double standards. I would rather date someone who is a 4 in looks with a 9 to 10 personality than someone with only looks and a terrible personality. Looks fade, but a great personality goes a long way. If my height is your deal breaker, then it never had a chance of happening in the first place. Be fully prepared to be disappointed because height does not mean anything. Story 56. Therapy language and the whole phrase, if you cannot handle me at my worst, you do not deserve me at my best, should be reconsidered. Grow up and strive to be better for your partner. Nobody is perfect, but being a mess all the time and expecting someone else to constantly bear the burden makes you a bad person. Story 57. The whole, I deserve XYZ in and because I am. It would be fine if XYZ were things like love, respect, and kindness, but it is usually superficial nonsense. Story 58. We must differentiate between a sexual relationship and a relationship based on 3 basic principles: understanding, affection, and mercy. Of course, most people deal with this with drama, so thinking in a logical way is a beautiful thing. Story 59. The use of dating applications. Even when they were limited to websites like OkCupid, I thought that was unusual. I know it worked out well for some who have tried it, but I view those as the exception, not the rule. Since profiles are just another avenue for people to be dishonest, it makes it hard to trust someone's motives for matching with you. It shows how much people have relied and still rely on situations outside their control, such as work and school, to bring relationships to them. Story 60. Literally all of it. The fact that it is gamified on applications. The fact that the vast majority of people looking for dates are seeking casual sex and nothing more. The fact that if you are not the pinnacle of aesthetic beauty, and God forbid, say plus-sized, disabled, queer, or otherwise, you are just going to get harassed and made to feel worse about yourself. The inability to create dialogue and communicate like 2 grown adults. The whole ick thing too, suggesting that a singular, often minor, quality of a potential partner that you personally do not enjoy is an immediate reason to cut ties. No one is willing to fight for the people they care about. It is either you match each other 100% or you split, it seems. Story 61. Asking how high their number of sexual partners is. Females get judged, and men become admired if the number is high. It never happened to me, but it has happened to my girlfriends. If they don't want to share because of privacy, they get called derogatory names. Story 62. Probably talking to several people at once under the guise that we are technically not exclusive. But I will still continue to do it. Story 63. Certain standards are very one-sided. I have your passwords and location, but you cannot have mine. If you change your passwords or turn off your location, then you are a cheater. I would immediately refuse to continue after that. Story 64. Men must pay for everything. The reality is that people can contribute however they want, and they should be able to speak openly about finances in life. Story 65. Possessive, jealous, obsessed, and does not like anyone but me are not good traits you would actively want in a partner. These are all clear warning signs of abuse, and the fact that people seem to be explicitly romanticizing them concerns me. Story 66. Assuming that a man needs to pay for dinner and more just to find out if you are compatible is unnecessary. It is not the woman's decision if the man is comfortable spending that much on first impressions, and that should not be the main factor in how you treat him. Love the man, not the wallet. Story 67. Pretending not to be interested or affected is tough, no doubt, but I think it is the best way to place you and your date on an equal footing. There are many ways to maintain seduction and curiosity without pretending. I guess it is often due to previous romantic disappointment, but I wish everyone enough strength to avoid building too many barricades. Story 68. Hot and cold behavior. Also, strange rules. Do not call back or text on the same day. Wait for at least 3 days. Why? Story 69. Being intimate with others while pretending to be in a committed relationship because the exclusive commitment has not been expressed. Story 70. Probably an unpopular opinion, but not being completely transparent when it comes to each other's phones and communication is problematic. If you are dating for the purpose of marriage, you are asking someone to share their entire life with you, usually to have children together. If you are not willing to let your significant other check your phone at any time for suspicious messages, then you should not be getting married. Of course, people will argue, they should just trust me. But do you want them to bet their entire life, their children's futures, their financial future, and their physical health on your word alone? I would never ask that of someone. I am always an open book and would never be offended if my spouse asked to see my phone. I would welcome it. Story 71. Expecting one person to pay the bill and judging them harshly if they do not or if they take you somewhere inexpensive. Story 72. I am not familiar with dating. I had a work colleague who would cheat on her partners if they misbehaved. Basically, if he did not satisfy her as she wanted or if they had a disagreement. Is that normal? So that is very toxic. Story 73. Hookup culture means people do not put effort into making relationships work and then complain about being single. Story 74. Swiping left on the dating applications. I remember when I was on dating applications for about a year. One time, I sat there swiping left for 15 minutes in a row. At some point, it hit me the toxicity of this behavior. I still cannot fully explain what exactly bothered me, but I realized how dismissive and degrading it was to those people. I felt ashamed and stopped using the application soon after that. Story 75. Massive expectations before you even meet the person. I think dating applications have made people very familiar with passing over individuals who could be a good match because they believe there is always someone better just a few swipes away. Story 76. Testing your partner. If I were under threat, would you still love me? Testing my partner to see if they will peel this orange for me. Things like that are not cute and are toxic if you are going to determine your relationship based on a test. If you have to test your significant other at all, just break up. Story 77. Saying that they knew immediately and it was love at first sight, when in reality it is largely luck whether you end up compatible in terms of personality and living together as well as physically. It is very annoying and ridiculous when people promote this reverse engineering as though it is reality. It is just a feeling. Story 78. The entire communication phase, especially when one person assumes exclusivity while the other is dating multiple people. Story 79. Wanting to check each other's phones as a trust exercise. No. There are conversations with friends about things they confess to me and want help with. No one else should see that. The next step of this is inevitable breakups through not sharing your ChatGPT chats. Story 80. Ghosting someone you have talked to for weeks as if it is just part of the process is emotional whiplash disguised as just how dating works. Story 81. Over-reliance on the applications does not matter which one. They are all designed to keep you single and believing there are better matches for you than there actually are. Story 82. Making someone change and the other person doing so is very manipulative on both ends. Just break up and find a better suited partner. Story 83. Having a list of people. Treating dating like buying a new car. Lying to your partner about everything. How interlinked pornography is with sex in most people's brains and how dependent they are on it. Story 84. I have told you about my past, so you know why I am this way. And I swear, people just want to hurt others before they get hurt themselves, and they usually hurt them worse. Story 85. Poking fun at your partner's hobbies because they are not to your own tastes. Seriously? You play video games? What are you, a child? Story 86. People who suddenly stop communicating or end a relationship without explanation cause distress. I have heard about several such situations, and they rarely turn out well for anyone involved. Story 87. That's such a great point. I think something many people pretend is normal but is actually very toxic is breadcrumbing, where someone gives you just enough attention or flirtatious signals to keep you interested but never actually commits or takes things further. Can be emotionally draining and really messes with your head. Story 88. When one person is really into posting everything on social media, but the other is a private person. Story 89. One of the strangest things people accept as normal in modern dating is the talking stage that lasts forever. It is essentially an endless limbo where you are texting every day, maybe even spending time together, probably flirting, and perhaps doing couple-like activities, but no one wants to clearly define what is going on. It is honestly wild when you think about it. It also messes with your mind. You start second-guessing everything, so you end up acting less interested than you really are to protect your ego. Story 90. Potentially ghosting, but it depends on the circumstance. I feel like people's communication has just deteriorated recently, or maybe this is just me. Story 91. Situationships. Be clear about your relationship status with each other. If they try to keep you uncertain, end the relationship. Story 92. Sharing locations, texting constantly, needing to be near each other all the time. The list can go on. People think it is normal, but it is just anxiety and dependency. Sharing locations is the most surprising thing to me now when I look at relationships. Story 93. Instant availability. If I do not respond instantly, there is a high chance the person will get upset. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.